All right, we're diving deep today into sales, sales commission, first sales rep, no sales rep, zero people managing order entry, hiring your first account manager managing order entry, and a bunch of other things. We really want to focus today on sort of that 500K-ish shop. So maybe like 250 to 750-ish in revenue and how to structure sales. So we've gotten some questions on how to more specifically do the commission structure. What does it look like? Should you do 100%? Should you do a portion? What are lessons learned that we've all experienced? And we are diving deep with none other than the sales expert, Kevin Baumgart from sales.inc. So we're going to get into that. We've got some downloadables to share and real examples. Very excited. We've got some incredible sponsors that help put this show on every single week. First up, Easy Way. If you're spending hours cleaning screens, that is a thing of the past, because Easy Way has incredible screen cleaning and screen cleaning chemicals. They've got innovative formulas that are designed to work quickly and effectively, so you can spend less time cleaning and more time going on a run, maybe enjoying a farmer's market or something, making a PB&J like I do. Easy Way is passionate about empowering printers of all skill levels. They offer helpful resources and expert advice to help you succeed in printing. Multicraft. Have you heard of Multicraft_Daddy? Head over to their Instagram account and check them out. Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies have been around for 50 years, providing the industry with top brands at competitive pricing. Mention the pod. That gets you an extra 10% off your first order. And if you DM Dave at Multicraft on his Instagram account with your email address, he's sending out stuff every single week. Thanks, Multicraft. Next up, GraphX Source. Need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department? GraphX offers industry-leading outsourcing options for your shop. They plug and play with Printavo or any other shop management software. So SAPs, orders, digitize files, back office admin, store creation, customer service. They can help you out. They've been around for 40 plus years. The code is PrintavoPod24. That gets you 50% off your vector, SEP, or digitized order. Mention us if you go check them out. BMAC Industries and DTF Superstores. BMAC Industries is a leader in innovative solutions for the DTF printing industry. They're working on really incredible dryers for the DTF space, so you can check them out at bmacindustries.com and DTFsuperstore.com. They've got all your DTF needs. Equipment, transfers, supplies, consumables, all that good stuff. Head there and check it out. Last but not least, DGI Apparel. DGIapparel.com. It was built by MIT engineers with a background in screen printing. I love that combination. DGI allows you to connect your Sanmar, Alphabroder, SNS, and all of these different accounts to your DGI account, and it lets you shop through all of them really quickly to be able to purchase from the right location and vendors that you want, and one-click buy. It is so simple to handle purchasing. It could just save you so much time every single day, and it's completely free to use. DGIapparel.com. All right, let's get into the episode. All right, boys, PB&J's up.
Espresso
kick
up.
This one off. Oh, little espresso. Steven? Diet Coke?
Hey, there it is.
Yeah,
there
let's
it is.
go. Got Kevin Baumgart back, the ultimate industry sales coach, mentor, just overall advisor for all shops of all sizes, which is really cool because there's a couple things we're going to get into on the sales end and try to get as specific and tactical as possible. But really quick, I was just thinking about this. Do you think, Steven, that people forget why they started their business, and got going? When they first got going, they're kind of toying around, things are working, they're collecting money, and they just keep doing it. Do you feel like they forget the forest in the trees at some point, and or when does that happen?
Yeah, I feel like I'm oftentimes forgetful. Gosh, there's probably been so many times in the last 10 years where I'm like, why am I doing this again? Or like, what did I used to enjoy out of this? It's really funny. We had our offsite last week. Kevin came and spoke and crushed it. He gave a talk on the hard thing about hard things. And I showed a picture of like my first year in business when we were just like grinding in like I had a little office in a closet, and it was just like work was fun and play. Um, and it was just like, oh shit, where did we go? It's been 10 years. And I like looked up and I was like, oh my gosh. What do you think, Bruce?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I was going back to when I was totally focused on just getting through the week. And it wasn't like I'm racing to Friday. It was just more so I'm just focused on knocking off my tasks for today and tomorrow, and planning for what the team needs for next week. But that was how I lived for 6 years or so, 7 years. It was just so short term focused. And I think after a while it was, yeah, wait, what is the point? And I think some people will, try to high level say, you want to create, it could be a legacy or it could be business to serve or blah, blah, blah. But I think those are stupid. I think there's two core reasons to get to with the business. Number one, personally, outside the business, can you generate enough income to cover you, your family's expenses, your personal expenses, and some so that you feel financially stable? And can you do that while not basically killing yourself working 80 hours a week for 10 years? Like, can you get to a point where you can do that and be able to have a better life balance and pull yourself out a little bit? It could be 40 hours a week and you're doing stuff that you enjoy 60, 70% of the time, but are not, there nights and weekends all the time. So I think it was those 2 points. What do you guys think?
Kevin, what do you think? Yeah, because you work with a lot of founders, so you see all their quirks.
Yeah, I don't know. I think all good points. I think everybody's in it for their own reason, and as long as they take time and effort to think about, like, sit down and consciously think about, like, what are you in this for, and why are you grinding? Like, a lot of us grind. Most of the shop owners that I talk to are not working 40-hour work weeks; they're working way more. So I think the important thing to take away would be like, what is your why? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? Is it still fulfilling? Is it the same reason 10 years ago, Stephen, why you sat down and decided to become a partner in Campus Inc. and grow the business, right?
I think entrepreneurs are super special people because there's something inside them that's rebelling and they want to prove something to someone. It might be to themselves. It might be to their parents. It might be the way they were brought up. But I feel like people that want to go out on their own and jump off that limb, they're trying to prove something. I think there's some sort of something there.
That chip on your shoulder mentality.
Yeah. Like, I think the reason I did it is like I was the youngest sibling and my sisters were so straight laced and, a lawyer and a doctor and a t-shirt salesperson. And so I think there was this black sheep. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like I'm going to show them that I don't have to be the traditional whatever way that everyone pegged me to be. So Kevin, we wanted to bring you on today. Kevin's been working with my sales team for 6-7 years. I don't know, 5 years. And a lot of like you've worked with so many people in our organization. We've rebuilt our commission structure a dozen times. I don't even want to know. I don't even want to count. But some of the questions that we got in were on commission and questions from the podcast of, let's really get into commission and how to pay commission and maybe some of the shortfalls of it. So I think we want to pick your brain today. So shops of any size can really hear what your views are on commission, what's worked, what hasn't worked, best practices, so on and so forth. So
Yeah, with I would say a focus on, haven't hired any sort of salespeople or maybe have some sort of account manager, salesperson that's, getting going and they want to figure out how to better structure. Because they're asking like, hey, you guys touched on it, but went a bit short. So, for inbound versus outbound commission, how does this work? And then also, you know, I guess we got some feedback that there was a lot of bigger shops that we'll try to focus on. So hopefully this is a lot more helpful for say 500K ish, around that range. maybe 250K less or 250K more, which is 80% of the market.
Yeah.
So Kevin, let's start with like the basics. Who in your company should get commission, and what are the basics of structuring it?
Yeah. Before we dive into that, I appreciate that question got brought up in the YouTube comments as Bruce and I were talking about how to get to your shop up to 500K. It's like you touched on commission, but I need to do it. Like I need to build it. Give me tangible. And we talk about this often. It comes up in almost every shop coaching client that I have. It's like, let's figure out and dial in commission. So I'm glad we're going to go a little bit deeper. And my hope of our time today is that they could get a commission compensation plan dialed to like 90% by some of the stuff we go over. And I'll try to keep in mind both smaller shops trying to get to 500,000 and then the larger shops as well.
Yeah.
And
maybe Kevin, as you're talking about it, some of the myths, like of maybe some of the mistakes we made early on, and I can be transparent about how we've restructured it time and time again.
Sure.
So yeah, who should get commission in your company? And what should the basic structure be in your professional opinion?
Okay, so who should get commission? Anyone that's going out and getting and winning new business, new customers, for sure. The second piece would be anyone that is writing orders, getting quotes over the finish line. I think there's, in most shops, there should be some sort of upside, unless I've seen some shops that have structure where nobody gets commission, everybody's in it just to help grow. And I love those cultures. But in most shops, if we're getting dollars in, there should be some incentive and motivation to get them compensated to do the work that they want to do. And then what was the follow-up question?
What would be a basic structure? Should you do all commission? Should it be like a base plus, like 80-20? If you're starting from scratch, what's a basic structure you recommend?
Add in the fact that, folks probably aren't doing outbound for a while. So let's cover that after. But a lot of this is coming inbound. We're just now having someone to enter in the orders to help push them into approval status and move from there.
Yeah, sounds good. So my recommendation would be there has to be that base salary or hourly base pay. Like they have to be comfortable. There's not a lot of people that will just like work for commission only. And like, I think there's a pretty good myth. Like I can just pay someone 100% commission and they can eat what they kill and bring in whatever they want. And that's how much money they're going to make. I haven't seen that be very successful in shops. So
What's
I think there has to. What's that?
What's like a good base amount? Like,
I mean, it depends on the geography. 50K? Yeah, it depends on the geography. And you're in a metro area, you're going to have to be competitive and it might be 50, 60K. But in some rural areas, I think like, I've seen 40, 45 fly. I would do some analysis and do some research. Payscale.com, compensation.com, Glassdoor are three resources that are, most of them free, some paid too, to be able to analyze how much you should pay based on the role. So there's got to be a base function of the compensation plan. I think there should be a commission as well, meaning they get some sort of upside or commission hit on any revenue that they bring in. If they're already on board and it's inbound orders, like you mentioned, and it's recurring customers, I would make it really, really simple. Like, don't overthink it. Have it be a % of their total revenue that they're bringing in. For inbound orders, customer support, like organic, they're not going out and winning the business and going out and bringing it in. They're just replying to inbound inquiries. I've seen like 2 to 3%, 1 to 4%, maybe on the bigger scale of that % work for most businesses. You also have to understand and know your profitability and know what your gross is per order. So understanding your financial aspects and structure of the business, I think is pretty helpful here.
So Kevin, when it's an inside salesperson, it's more like a bonus, if anything, like an incentive bonus. So like, if you process 50 orders a month and your AOV is $1,000 a piece, you're going to get an extra $500 a month.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Like,
and so
they can think about that as a bonus, but I kind of want them to think about incentivizing them to get every single one of those deals over the finish line so they get that full bonus that they want to get.
Right. And so, but for an inside, it should be a really simple system. And what you also want to do is figure out what OTE is. So like what is it? On target
earnings.
On target earnings. So if you have an employee and it's their inside sales and you're like, okay, what do I want you to make in a year? I'd love for you to make 55 to 60 grand. Okay. That means we need to make your base 45, a 1% commission. If you do $500,000 this year, if you process 500 orders, you're going to make $5,000. Okay, you're going to make 50 grand. Do I feel good about that? Do you feel good about that? All right, let's do it. I think sometimes shops get too granular and say, well, I'm going to make them calculate gross profit. And if it's their first time order, and it's like, no, just keep it simple.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, especially from an inside perspective. I've seen a lot of shops try to do like, let's take out cost of goods sold and commission on the margin minus COGS. The only way that I've seen that work well is if it's a machine and the salesperson doesn't have to do any calculation. They understand what COGS is and they understand how to pull it out, and they can really quickly and easily on every single job that they quote understand how much they're going to make in a bonus or commission on that order. It's the only way that I've seen it work, and I still think it makes it more complicated operationally for the shop to manage and calculate it, but also for the salesperson. And I want simplicity. I want them to really, really easily understand and be motivated on what they're gonna make. So I do think paying commissions off of revenue is maybe easier, more relevant, easier to structure for inside than paying.
So I'll explain how we do it at Campus Inc. The account managers have to track their own sales in a spreadsheet. And when they track their own sales, they actually have to calculate gross profit so they can show us what cost of goods sold was for their book of business, but we still reward them on top line. But when they do their commission meeting, we're like, okay, your cost of goods sold on average was 34%, like what can we do to make it 30%? And we don't penalize them for it, but they just have to be conscious about it. Right. And so that's how we do it. Basically, once a month closes, they basically have about 10 days to get their reports done. And then their commission will hit basically the second paycheck of the month. So they're getting a third paycheck every month. And it's very, very simple. We don't make it complex whatsoever.
Love it. A couple of things that I want to touch on there. Putting the onus on the salesperson to calculate their commission not only helps reduce the operational lift of the shop, but it focuses that salesperson or account manager to look at that all the time and own it and be involved in it and know that every order that I put through, here's how much money I'm making. I've seen that push a little bit more like intrinsic motivation. A couple other things that you mentioned, Stephen. One was the split between base and commission and what that totals out for your on-target earning. What I would then do is, like you say, you're going to bring in 500 orders at 1,000 AOV, whatever that is. I would break that down per month at how you see that flow. So with so much seasonality in our business, January and February quota and amount of revenue that they're going to bring in is not going to be the same as November or June, July, whatever your months are. I would try to break down where you think that revenue is going to come from with as much historical data as you have. So now you can get to see, all right, I'm not going to expect that salesperson to bring in the same amount in a slow month that they would in one of our busiest months, but it'll help kind of break down that whole year and help you understand likely how much revenue they're going to bring in and then how much you're going to have to pay them out of it. In all these comp plans, you kind of got to model it out and build out like, what does the 12-month look like? And now how much are they going to make each month? So I think it's important to like structure that out, which brings me to like quota. In my opinion, you shouldn't just say, hey,
can you explain what quota is too?
Yeah, I'm going to. So you can't just say, hey, account manager, I'm going to give you 2% on every dollar you bring in. Like, what if they only bring in $100 that month? Like, they shouldn't be incentivized in the same way that they would if they actually bring in what they're supposed to. So quota would be your best calculation and recommendation on how much revenue they should be bringing in for their role. If you've had an account manager for a year, look back historically at the orders they've run per month, and now you know what their quota should be each month, every month. Some shops I've seen it just put it consistently across. They know like my account manager is going to bring in 600K, so 50K a month. every month their quota is 50,000 and they get 2% off of that 50,000 that they bring in, paid the next month, paid the second paycheck or the 15th of the next month. It's usually how they structure it. I would rather have it though, as a salesperson, more motivating if I know my quota is only 10,000 in January and February, but it's 70, 80,000 now in June, July when we're busier. I would rather have it like that so that the salesperson isn't demotivated by not even getting anywhere close to quota in slow months.
So quota is kind of your baseline. Can you talk a little bit about like maybe sweeteners or accelerators, or like what are things you can do to juice it up?
Aspartame,
yeah,
stevia.
So, for sure. Like you should sweeten the comp plans. And if the person has the right intrinsic motivation and behaviors, that should push them to try to drive more sales. That's valuable to try to get them to get excited and want to sell more. So an accelerator, an example of that would be, let's say their quota is 50K for this month and they sell $50,001. Any dollar over that 50,000 quota, their now commission goes from 2% to 3% from $1. So now instead of making 2% of 50K, I'm making 3% of $50,001. So it helps them to push and stay motivated. And every month it's now trying to get to that next level and really focus on hitting that number and pushing and driving every month, month in, month out.
So I'll explain it. And then I know, Bruce, you got a question here. At Campus Inc., we have a quarterly goal for every employee for their sales. And then they have their monthly quotas. At the quarter, if they hit their goal, they get an extra point on the entire quarter. So it's basically like a race to try and get there, and they take their goals really seriously, and they get feisty if they don't hit them, and they'll like negotiate. And but it creates this sense of like, I want to go above and beyond, right? But we definitely had to constantly retool it to get it to a place where everyone liked it. Bruce, what were you going to say?
Do you like quarterly goals instead of monthly?
So there's
smooth it out.
There's monthly goals, but then the quarterly bonus on top of their commission. So they get their monthly commission. So there is a
monthly commission. There's like a quarterly, sweetener on top. Okay.
Yep.
I see
because it is interesting to think about it, like to zoom out to a quarterly, right? Because it does help smooth out some of the lumpiness.
Yeah, I see most shops structure it on a monthly basis. From a payment perspective, I want to pay my.
I don't think people want to wait. Yeah.
Nope. And I want that instant gratification of I crushed it this month. The 15th of next month, I'm getting that check and I get to see that. And what I found is most really good salespeople or account managers, they've got that money spent already by the 15th of the next month when they get that check. Like they're excited about that. So Stephen, let me clarify one thing. So your team members are getting that monthly commission, but then if they hit it consistently over that calendar quarter, they're getting an accelerator, a carrot, or a bonus on top of that each quarter. I love that.
Yeah, and they'll make it for the entire book of business for the quarter. So, if someone did $500,000 and their commission started at 3%, once they cross $500,000, they literally just got 4% on the last 500 they did, and they're getting a $4,000 or $5,000 bonus.
Love it.
Our CFO was just like, look, if they're gonna do that, hell yeah, let's reward them.
Why not? Right?
Yeah, that's gravy.
Let me throw out one other way to commission and compensate inside salespeople, account managers, order takers. Instead of looking at it on a per deal basis, looking at it on a book of business growth basis. So if you have someone that's been in the seat for a while, you know what they've done, you know their book of business, you know their customer base, and you know the revenue that those customers have brought in. You can now look at month over month or quarter over quarter or year over year growth of that account, that book of business. And so if they've got their set book and their book did 500K in revenue last year, you can incent and commission, hey, if you get that same book of business with those customers up to 750, I'll bonus you this. Or any growth above that 500K that you did last year, I'll give you a percent on top of that, or some sort of commission structure, maybe a little bit more complex and harder to track and manage. But if I have an account manager that's managing current customers, they should really care about two things. One, are they going to leave us? Are they happy? Are they staying with us? And two, are we growing revenue of that account over time? So another way to skin it.
Bruce, I have a question for you, and I want to hear Bruce's first. A lot of times in a smaller shop or in a bigger shop, the owner is inputting orders and they are handling some big accounts, and they're working alongside the account managers and taking some orders and giving them the other. Do you think a shop owner should be doing that, or should they hand off every order to an employee?
Yeah, I don't think they can actually financially afford a sales rep yet, which actually begs the question of at what revenue marker do you think you should start considering having someone full time on this?
I think what I'm asking is like when it was like just me and Mila, right? She would handle some, I would handle the other. Would it be better for me to just push everything through her? Or is it good for me as an owner to keep putting in orders and processing them? Like, what does that show of your as you're trying to build a sales order?
Well, I do think that the owner title carries a lot of weight in the sales world, and maybe that means over a certain dollar threshold, the owner is involved or looped in or CC'd, and you can respond back, because it seeing that at the bottom does make a lead feel good or a current customer feel good. But gosh, I mean, and I think a lot of the owners have gotten smarter on this, but it's just easy for stuff to fall through the cracks. Like, are you actually following up a couple times on this? Are you actually responding back right away if you're running around doing 8 other things? I think we'd love to be the savior and the hero, though, but like, it's just so easy to give not so great of an experience, whether we like it or not, because we're just doing too many different things.
Kevin, what do you think? Should the owner be inputting orders and working alongside the account managers?
If they're smaller and it's 1 or 2 of them, I think they have to be. They have to be involved. Maybe not like owning everything and quarterbacking actual deals and like managing everything. But I think they should be supporting and be showing face and helping to push everything across the finish line, like you did when it was just you and Mila. Like, you were there, you were in the weeds with her.
So
would you have done that again?
So the position that I took was I will be in the deal, but I will not be I'm not going to be responsible for actually like the administration of it. And so it's like copy man every email. I might tee up orders. I might send out some things here and there, but immediately once they want a quote, I'm like, okay, talk to Mila. She's going to get that quote for you. Right. And I think, go ahead.
You still do that today too, Steven.
All the time. But I don't even know how to enter in an order right now. I would mess it up.
You want a demo?
What?
Do you?
I would.
Give you a demo.
I would break all the rules. Yeah.
But do you get looped in on? You don't get looped on every order, do you? I mean, that's impossible.
No, but we have this thing. Maybe I'll show it at Print Hustlers. We have this thing called Shop Ticker, and it's a waterfall of every order that comes in, and the entire team celebrates every sale with like likes and emojis. So like I see everything. Like I can scroll through and be like, "Ooh, that was a big one." Ooh, and then our sales team, will copy me into stuff and be like, "Hey, can you just nudge this customer and say hey?" But rarely will I ever. And I think early on I was like, I'm going to hand every order to an account manager so that they can build their confidence and their trust. And like, I don't want to save money trying to put in orders myself. That was a waste of my time, I think.
I love that strategy of the owner, the shop owner, being involved in deals and supporting their account managers and their inside salespeople. In tech, we call it second voice. Like, if I've got a deal stuck as a salesperson, I'm bringing in the owner of the company and they're second voicing the concerns that I brought up or trying to move a deal that's stalled. I love that. I think all shop owners should have that open, like kind of like a sales manager role, sales coach, sales manager role with their account teams and help push stuff forward. I love that strategy.
But when do you think you can bring on an account manager? Or when should you, like, I'm sure people are growing, they're doing the things, they're investing how they're investing, but is it, all right, maybe by 750-ish, you should absolutely have an account manager. By 500-ish, you should absolutely have an account manager.
So when you say account manager, Bruce, do you mean like customer success, like just answering emails, sending quotes?
Or do you mean like probably doing multiple roles? Yeah, but
right.
They're handling order entry, like you said. Okay, I want a quote. They're handling that. They're probably doing some purchasing. They're
I think
Give
at
your Mila.
$400,000, you need to have someone at the front.
For sure. The vast majority of the, shops approaching that $500 million mark have someone outside of the owner that's doing customer support,
500,000?
helping with order entry. If they've got a retail storefront, doing storefront, taking inbound inquiries, actioning on them. Absolutely.
Have you guys motivated the wrong behavior with commission structure or seeing that? Because when I had my first commission structure, I thought, all right, our average order value is X. So I just want to focus on getting the orders in because it averages out. So I will drive the behavior of getting orders in, which, in software world was accounts. And what happened was they would just sell low value accounts constantly just to get them in and get the commission structure. And so we changed it after a quarter or so, but yeah, that was I was trying to be too smart instead of, focus on the core. Were there any maybe Steven first, like any mistakes early on there?
So many.
I'm sure Kevin, you've seen a bunch too, but yeah, what was one that stood out?
So like water will always choose the path of least resistance. So will your sales team. So they will game the system, right? Like if there is a loophole in it, or they make extra on something, or they will be like water and find the path of least resistance to make the most amount of money. And you can't blame them for that. So, I would have different incentives, and maybe if you hit a certain order volume, I'd give you a bonus, or on a certain type of order, I might pay you more. And I was trying to over game it, and then they would just game me. So, hey, for Google reviews, we're going to give you a little extra money. And then it's like, are you getting spam reviews now? I don't know. It's you have to be really careful about that. But I think the one thing that you have to do with your sales team is let them know that the commission structure will change. And Kevin, you taught us this. It will change every year, and we're going to evaluate to make it better and better. So like, don't get too hung up on any given structure. Kevin, what do you got?
Yeah, for sure. Like goals, quotas, and commission is going to change always. Every 6 months, maybe in software companies and tech, it's almost every quarter that commission comp changes. Exactly. Yeah.
I told people when they started, I said that. I said, this is not going to be 100% right. So just know that it may change. And I like your feedback too.
And we'll make it right. Yeah. We'll do what's right for you and for the business. I saw a couple shops make this mistake where they pushed so much to try to get new business and commission a way higher percentage for net new. And they kind of left their current clients.
Wow.
The people focused so much on going out, and then they weren't being responsive to incoming quotes. I saw a couple shops do that as they were trying to really ramp up outbound.
What was the solve for that? Evened it out? It's just the same?
Just put more focus on, like, there was either no commission or really, really small commission for current customer, inbound orders, level it up a little bit. I don't think it should be level. Like, it shouldn't be the same commission percentage for net new versus.
Should not.
No way.
It should be different for net new.
No way.
Yeah. You should reward net new behavior, right?
So maybe let's shift gears from now, current customer comp plans to like net new growth. Going out and finding new customers and getting them to switch from their incumbent printer is harder than someone that raises their hand and said, hey, I need to reorder this order that I ordered 11 months ago. So the amount that we pay, the commission percentage for net new should be greater. I've seen some shops do 2 to 3 percentage points higher, like 4 to 6% about typically on net new.
I think this is where it gets hairy.
Yeah. How does it work? Is that for first order, or is that for that customer for the first 6 months? Or
that's always the question that comes up. How do you structure this? Because ultimately it's got to align to their role, which is why it's so important to define roles and responsibilities and what they're going to be doing. Because in smaller shops, that one salesperson, account manager, customer service person is doing everything. They're doing inbound orders. They're doing current customer reorders. They're doing net new. They're going outbound. They're trying to win new business. They're managing everything. It's a little bit challenging. If we separate roles, and for the larger shops that are at a place financially where they can afford to invest in a core outbound net new seller that's not doing any repeat business, that's not doing any recurring customers or any inbound. They're solely focused on going outbound and managing that process. If they can afford that, that commission structure should be set as though they get that first deal, they hand it off to the inside account management team, and they go get the next one. However, if you do that, that salesperson needs to get a cut of the next 9 months, 12 months, maybe of orders that come in from that account. They should get a piece of that. It shouldn't just be that first order. So you have to structure a little bit of a tail of commissions. I've seen some shops even do up to 2 years. So I'm going to incentivize you so much to bring on a net new customer that you're going to get a piece of this ongoing. And maybe it's 4 or 5% commission for the first year, and then it's 2.5% for the second year. Either way, there has to be that differentiation. And now the account manager that's managing that new customer that the outbound seller brought in, they have a smaller commission percentage. The beautiful part about that is after year 1 or year 2, whenever that commission trail comes off, that customer is so much more profitable for that shop because now you don't have to pay that higher commission percentage.
I feel like this is really hard to implement. I'm not going to lie. I think this is probably because of the tracking of it, right? And so in a typical like tech sales, software sales, you have an account executive that goes out and gets the customer, then they hand it to the account managers, and the account managers own that relationship for the entirety of it. I think in our industry that's so relationship driven, that's like event driven, that's got ebbs and flows, and there's like not like it's hard to the revenue's not as predictable. Like unless you have a really tight sales organization, this is really hard to pull off. And so I mean, it's
what is hard to pull off, the organization and calculation of it, or the team working together and the customers flowing?
The team working together, I feel like, and we haven't successfully been able to do this. And so all salespeople at Campus Inc., they make the same commission percentage on existing or new business. And they make it every time the order is processed for the lifetime of that client. And so, but they have to be the ones to enter in the order and make the sale. And we've just struggled with this, unless you can really keep it organized.
I don't think this is that complicated, especially if you're having the sales rep manage their commission structure. So here's an example. I close ABC company. I've got a spreadsheet now that's, let's say it's 12 months waterfall of commissions. I've got month 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to month 12. And I've got a cell that I plug in. I look at my print shop management software at the end of the month. What was their total order purchase? I plug that in. I've got that commission percentage, and I can calculate how much commission I get off that account. I don't think operationally or like managing this from like a spreadsheet and like KPI perspective is that hard. What is hard is if I, as the salesperson, don't feel like my account manager and my customer success team is effective, now I've got some animosity between those teams. And it's like, I brought in this great customer and the account management team isn't taking care of it. And now I'm losing commissions out of it. That's been, I think, the biggest struggle that I've seen in that format.
And is it fair to say that if you have one employee that's trying to do outbound sales and inside sales, it's probably not going to work?
That's where it gets muddy. And that's why if we have the luxury of having 2 distinct separate roles where they're focused and they're specialized and they're really good at their respective parts of the sales organization and the sales process, that's way better. If we don't have that luxury and we have one person doing everything, I think it still can be a little bit muddy, but why not give them, for the first 12 months of a net new customer that's never done any business with us before, a higher commission percentage than all the repeat business that you'll get from that.
What about a customer that fills out a contact form? They're new and they close them. Is that considered a new customer in that new bucket?
It's an
as in
sale.
You didn't go out
yeah.
and like cold outreach or whatever. It's like they were inbound, but it's a new customer.
You have to define that. So I would consider net new as someone that didn't know about us, hasn't heard about us, that I pulled into the sales process. Someone that fills out a quote form, referral, word of mouth, any organic, just like net new business, I would consider that a house account.
And really, the reward is to your marketing team.
Yeah, right. Or just the prestige and the name and recognition that you have in the community, right? The great work that you've already done. So I think it is hard if you've got one person managing all those areas. But again, if we put the onus on them to organize and structure how much they're going to get paid, they're going to hopefully be motivated to stay on top of it and manage it effectively. And we can QC it and make sure that it's accurate.
I made one lethal mistake once of giving commission bonuses to marketers for people that filled out leads and then eventually placed in orders. And that was the worst. That was one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made.
Why?
Because then it was like every activity at Campus Inc. should be rewarded with a commission. It's like, oh,
so
should
you
they
had
get
all of a
something
sudden a spike in spam inquiries?
No, it's like, oh, so if they fill out, then it's like, oh, should they make commission on marketing emails that turn into conversions? Or should, if someone messages through the Instagram, because it was that channel, the person that runs the social media, they should get it. And I'm like, hold on, time out. You're paid a salary to do your job. And that's what you're getting. Oh, that was a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I think a lot of what we're talking about goes back to being really clear and communicating effectively how we're structuring these plans and what their role and responsibility is and what they should focus on. If we do that well and we communicate it well and we build these plans in advance and we communicate that to the team well, it should be a lot easier to manage all of this, and expectations are aligned, and it's just going to make this stuff a lot easier.
So if we go back to the sort of the owner doing order entry and account management to the first hire doing order entry, account management, and that type of stuff, they call it 500K a shop. If the goal overall is to grow, let's say, hey, we want to grow this business 10, 20% this year or something. Does it matter though if it comes from new or existing business, or is it more important to say, all right, the base commission is 3% or 4%, and because we want to grow, I will up that to 5% if you hit for this year above, I don't know, whatever the 400K in revenue that you manage and or enter, bring in, however that works. Is that the simplest version of this?
Yeah,
I think so. Go, Stephen.
No, I was just saying, like, you want to. It's easier to sell to an existing customer and grow an account than to get a new account. And so it's really important that you take a customer that spent 10 grand this year and you make sure they spend 20 grand next year. That's just great customer service and, whatever. And to get a few new customers that you continue building on. But I think it's really, like, Bruce, to your point, I kind of look at the overall picture rather than necessarily breaking it up too much. But I think to your point, when you're growing, you just want to make sure you reward the right activity. It doesn't matter.
There is something psychologically, like when the comp plans get complicated, like you were talking about trying to take out cost of goods or, other aspects. And like, I found if a rep can't right in the top of their head in 2 seconds figure out what they're going to make off this, they sort of, I think the motivation goes down a bit.
Yeah, I agree with that, Bruce. And to your question about, like, should we just be focusing on growing revenue and commissioning everything the same? Like, I get, like, from a simplicity perspective, Stephen, the attractiveness of the plan that you've created. Everybody makes the same percent on whatever it is. What I think you'll find is shops that really want to grow and get to that $1 million mark, they have to have some predictable revenue path and some structured approach to go find net new. And if we don't commission and incent that behavior and we just say, hey, just grow your current customer, that can only go so far. We got to refill the funnel with net new opportunities. So I think for shops that really want to grow, finding a way to, doesn't have to be complicated, easily commission a higher percent for net new over a certain period of time, I would try to lever on that and push in that area.
So Bruce, you said, okay, at $500,000, you hire your first order entry account manager. Your next hire should be an outbound salesperson, right? You should just keep balancing this out. And so now the outbound is going and gathering, hunting and gathering, right? And the inside, what you don't want to do is like have so many account executives, people that are going out and getting sales, and no account managers. You sort of need to balance the funnel.
So does the person hunting manage the order for the first year then? Or like
At Campus Inc., you manage it for the entirety of your business. Like that's your book of business.
okay, so if they found that order or that account, we'll say they're managing it. Is that what you see too, Kevin, where they manage it now forever?
That's not the typical case. That's just the anomaly that we do.
I wouldn't do that, but most shops don't have the luxury of having that sole outbound seller. If they can afford and want to invest in that person, I would transition that relationship once they do one order over to the customer success team, and that salesperson goes out and finds the next one. But again, that's hard to do when you're smaller, when you're sub $1 million in revenue. If you got to be willing to invest in that at whatever point. It goes back to the conversation we had in our last pod, Bruce, about like trying to understand rep payback and how long it can take to have a salesperson like pay back on what you would invest in them.
All right. So Kevin, you guys quickly riff on that. If I'm hiring a sales rep and it's $40,000 and I'm going to pay them 3% commission, right? And I want them, you
want them to make 60, let's say, or 70.
I want them to sell $500,000, right? How long until they can stand on their own 2 feet?
Yeah. So we'd have to model this out. So after the last pod, Bruce and I started to create this like break even payback sales rep analysis or like payback calculator. This is just a math problem. So we need to figure out how much revenue would they need to bring in for us to pay back the trough that you're going to be in the front, because you got to invest a lot and it's going to take them time to create new opportunities. It's not like they're going to be out of the gate selling $50,000 a month, right? It's going to take some time for them to get to that period. So,
and you made, can people email you for?
Let's do that. We still need to put the finishing touches on it, but I'll commit to working this out and building like some sort of payback calculator for shops to be able to measure. If I do hire the salesperson, I need to pay them X. They would need to bring in Y of sales for this to make sense and just plug in some numbers. Kevin at sales.ink. Over the next couple of weeks, I'll try to put some finishing touches on that. And anyone that wants a copy of it, I'll share it.
Heck yeah. And because honestly, when you break it down, you have your fixed costs. It adds up every single. So I put one column as the fixed cost I'm paying every single month. In the next column, I put the total, their quota, their sales goals for the total sales they're supposed to sell. And then the next column, I put the commission that they're supposed to make on that. And then in the last column, I put the total summed up cost of what they costed me. So for example, month 1, they may have costed $4,000 total. In month 6, that cost every month adds up. So we may be at $30,000 in total cost, but in the total sales column, you will see it adds up as well. And so the payback period is essentially when the total sales eclipses the total cost of that rep. And that may be in month 6, that may be in month 10. Obviously, it's a lot faster if you can ramp them up quicker and if they can sell more quicker. So
I think the payback period is 6 to 9 months where they can start really contributing. But isn't it ironic that a shop will hire a screen printer, no questions asked, but they won't necessarily take the gamble on a sales rep? Can you talk a little bit about what you've noticed, Kevin? Like, it's just a weird thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's back to your question. If you had $100,000 to spend on any piece of equipment for your shop, what would it be? And your answer is a salesperson. It's like, I don't know. You need press operators and production employees to deliver on the things you sell. So like, I get that there is that need, but if there's a need to grow and a want to grow, you got to invest in that salary, that person as well. I think the challenge is that we've never done it before and we don't know how it works and we don't know how long it's going to take.
Can we turn this into a public service announcement on the pod? I think Bruce has a megaphone.
What's the megaphone PSA?
Handy? Well, you're going to make a PSA to shops about...
Attention. Kevin Baumgart has a PSA.
What's the PSA?
Your PSA is about shops spending on the wrong people.
Yeah, if you want to invest and grow, you got to be willing to invest and grow and hire salespeople to do it for you. Like, just like you want to invest and grow in production and being able to produce more garments, why not be able to go sell more, invest in that as well?
You said it so nicely. I would be more of a jackass. It
Hire
blows my
salespeople.
freaking mind that shops will.
Let me be the pushback, because I know exactly what the pushback is. It's, I'm at 500K. Why would I pay someone 3%, 4% of the sales that I'm doing right now for free? That's exactly the words that are going to be used, and I can hear it in my head. And now I know it's not free and so on, but it's like, I'm going to spend 40K base plus another 20K-ish in commission to handle the same amount of orders that I'm handling right now. What do you say back?
I think the issue they really have is like delayed gratification. They want to buy something and they want it to work tomorrow. I hire a screen printer. They start printing tomorrow. It makes my life easier. I buy an $100,000 press. I don't have to print anymore, but I'll pay $4,000 a month in a really expensive loan. With a salesperson, I have to pay that money, take the time to train them, take the time to develop them. They may or may not be successful, but the payback doesn't start for 6 to 9 months. And I don't think shop owners have that gumption to try and do that. I think it's totally a mental block in our industry, and it blows my freaking mind. I don't know. Maybe it's just weird to us.
The owner could be doing so many other things, improving their business, driving operational efficiencies, focusing on other areas that need to improve. And you could even argue a salesperson could come in and do it better than the owner. Someone that's experienced in sales and has done it before, like, why not have them do it all day, every day, versus the shop owner that maybe hasn't been trained in that or hasn't done it a lot in the past? Maybe they're an artist, maybe they're a creative. Plug in that salesperson that knows, that has done it before.
What got me around the hump personally was seeing the growth in sales that I can help motivate that is more than what I could have handled. So it was, okay, we're at 500. I want to get in a year to 650. Here is the commission structure to be able to have someone to get there. And I think the beauty of this role is it's probably the most measurable role that I may hire for, as in that quota ramp up period. Like, for example, when I say quota ramp up, I'm saying like, okay, month 0, they may sell 10K in sales because they're going to be shadowing me and so on. Month 2, it may be 15K. Month 3, it's 100%, at, let's say 30K. Let's say December, maybe they'll be at 85% efficiency. So it goes down by that because they take off or whatever. But if they're not hitting those goals after 3 months, I think you'll see it after 2 months, maybe even sooner, maybe in 30 days, that this is either not the right person, I didn't give them the right tools, but I think it's honestly more of this is not the right person, and I need to find the right person.
I think it's also a training and onboarding thing. I have botched the ramp up on salespeople so many times because salespeople are finicky. Just not the proper training. We were maybe in a busy time, try to let them to do too much too soon. I think like if you're going to invest in a salesperson, do yourself a favor and make sure they have the proper training, right? And so in our instance, like I rely on Kevin to be my second voice because I cannot put the amount of time into training them and managing them and keeping them happy. And so, like it's so important that Kevin can meet with my team once a month and show the blind spots to me that I need to know, and then I can go and implement them. So like if you're a great artist or a great screen printer, know that you might not be a great sales manager and be very aware of that and just bite the bullet a little bit, because it's like the success rate just goes up way more if you've got a good team.
And there's a couple tactics and strategies to improve that, like early ramp and management. Build an onboarding plan, build a 90-day plan of like, what does success look like 60 to 90 days in? What are the specific goals and objectives we want to hit? What are the skills and knowledge they need to acquire? What are the internal processes that they need to uncover? So building that plan up front, I think, is super important. The KPI metrics, like what do they need to do? Bruce, you mentioned it. This is easy. It's calculated. It's numbers. It's inputs equals outputs. What do we need to do from an activity perspective that's going to result in sales? is another great way to manage effectively. And I think the third would be just weekly one-on-ones. I don't know why in this industry we don't do like one-on-one meetings with the shop owner and their team members. Maybe it's because everyone reports up to the owner. And normal business hierarchy, there's managers and leaders in the individual functions. So if you're not doing this and you have account managers or salespeople, you got to put 30 minutes on the calendar every week and talk about what they're doing, what's working, what isn't, where they're tripping up, where they're seeing friction in their day to day, and be there for help and support and review their numbers, review their scorecard, and figure out how you can best manage and motivate them going forward.
All right, Kevin, can you tell us, for people that don't know, tell us about Sales Inc. really quickly in 30 seconds and what shops can do to get involved with that?
There's 3 components of Sales Inc. One is one-on-one coaching and consulting, where I come in and help specifically to what the shop needs. The second is I run a cohort membership group. Every 6 months, we launch a new cohort with 15 shops in non-competitive geographies, allow them to work together, part me presenting, part the crew and the team talking through sales challenges, what's working, what isn't. And the third component of Sales Inc. is the academy. So I've created some online coursework that shops can, if they don't want to invest in a one-on-one coach, they can invest in some coursework and self-serve and learn a lot of the topics and strategies that I would deal with in a one-on-one engagement.
Every 6 months, we'll put a different employee in Sales Inc. So like last one, we did Jenna. This one, Haley joined. And last week, I was talking to one of our account managers, Mary, and she's like, I listened into the Sales Inc. I got a headphone. Haley gave me a headphone so I could listen to Kevin last week. I was like, oh, no way. She's like, yeah, it was so cool. I was like, oh, sweet. Did he know? Yeah.
Those are really fun opportunities to get salespeople and shop owners in non-competitive geographies talking about like what's working and what isn't and sharing strategies. It's like there is value in like some of the stuff that I communicate and teach, but a lot of the value comes from hearing what other shops are doing and what's working for them. It's pretty fun.
The last thing I just wanted to talk about is 100% commission. Okay, we got 1 minute left. So people will bring this up. It's a lot less risky. I mean, in theory, it makes sense from that perspective. What have you seen? Does it work? Maybe it works a little bit. I don't know. Like, what have you seen with 100% commission?
I have not seen 100% commission work. Like, yes, there's not a lot of risk. Like, I'll just pay someone if they close deals. But what I find is they're not on brand. They don't follow policies. You're going to have problems with them submitting orders or getting details over to production. It's complicated. The only way that I've seen that work is if someone buys out another shop and it's the old shop owner that has all these existing relationships and they just want a piece of continuing to bring in and drive revenue. That's the only time that I've seen 100% commission plans work.
Like some Glengarry, Glen Ross days, those days are behind us,
yeah.
I think.
Yep.
Okay.
They don't work.
All right. Hopefully that answers some questions. Leave more questions in the comments too, and because we definitely check those out, and that helps add more valuable content to everybody. So, Print Hustlers, we appreciate you. Kevin, that's Kevin at sales.inc. You can reach him to dive deeper into this and, help your shop specifically too. All right. We appreciate you guys joining us for this week. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.